Hello, fellow Galactic listeners. I'm Aaron Julian, and this is WSTR Galactic Public Access, a Star Wars podcast. Welcome to episode 161. Today, we are talking about our adventures at the Chicago Comic and Entertainment Expo, also known as C2E2. Plus, we got more Clone Wars, but not what you think, so stay tuned. Who's with me today? We have Miss Heather Allred.
Hey, everybody.
Thanks for joining us. And Carla G is back at it again.
Hey, what's up?
Glad to have you. All right, we want to get into C2E2. We want to get into Clone Wars and everything else, but first we need to pay some bills. So you can find us all on the socials. Heather at Hawk Awesome, Carla at Carla Marie Giac, Giac, Todd at Tizod, 4Z's OD, and newly minted myself. That's Aaron Julian at Instagram. And we've got our podcast handle, WSTR Media. All one word, all lowercase, everywhere. You can email us at mailbox@wstrmedia.com. Leave us a voicemail at 630-557-WSTR. That's 630-557-9787. We want to hear from you. And, of course, we can play you back on the show. Our entire back catalog of episodes and all relevant links can be found at podcast.wstrmedia.com. And we're live streaming now. So keep an eye out on our socials every Monday night when we record the episode. We'll be going live on the YouTube. Head on over there, WSTR Media. Subscribe and hit that bell icon so you are notified every time that we go live. This show is brought to you by Audible. It's Amazon's easy, no-risk way to support this podcast, find some entertainment and education, and dare I say it, edutainment, in the downtime of your day. You could choose from over 425,000 titles. If you go over to audibletrial.com/WSTR, claim your free 30-day trial, and you get to pick one audiobook and 2 free Audible originals to keep forever, no questions asked, even if you cancel. You get an audiobook, we get a little kickback from Amazon. Everybody wins. We are also brought to you by our merchandise store. Head on over to store.wstrmedia.com. See what we've got. We can cover you from head to toe in WSTR merch. And thank you to the folks at Teespring for running that store for us. We are also brought to you by our Patreon, patreon.com/WSTR Media. We're having a ton of fun over there. We've got a ton of exclusive content for you for about the price of a coffee per month, if you can imagine that. So if you're drinking that latte on your way to work, just throw it on the ground, make a scene, and instead use that money to support your favorite Star Wars podcast, and we will be most appreciated. And what you get in return is worth a lot more than that. We've got Heather's Holocron. Heather, you want to tell us a bit about that?
Oh, well, sure. There's not a lot of new stuff going on, as you'll find out because of our main topic. But, basically we delve into my brain, my holocron of information, as I learn all about the Star Wars universe. We've learned things about Sith Lords. Found out there's some female Sith Lords, not just our, mainstream male guys. Learned the difference between a stormtrooper and a scout trooper and a snow trooper and a sand trooper, and I could go on. But I'm not going to. I will save it for Heather's Holocron on patreon.com.
There you go. And shouldn't technically they be called Sith ladies, not Sith lords?
Ooh.
They're saying.
Probably.
All
right.
I wasn't at the
part
meeting.
2 that episode.
Yeah. But we've also got a show that JD and I do called a Starside Chat. It's just a bit of extra fun content that we do. Sometimes we go into deep dives on topics that are just too nerdy and too niche for the main show. Sometimes we have some fun with some BuzzFeed quizzes, some Jeopardy games for our own making. We read some fan fiction from time to time. It's just a lot of fun. It's meant to be a bit more of like a variety show than we have here on the show. So we've got that. We've got exclusive announcements. We now have a private Discord community. So any Patreon can head on over there and get pretty much instant access to at least me and JD who run the place. But it's where you can get announcements and updates, and where you could submit your ideas for future episodes. All that and more over at patreon.com/WSTR Media. If you like the show, if you want to support us, if you want to fund future growth and future fun stuff that we can do, we would highly appreciate it. And you get a ton of cool content in return. All right, bills are paid. Heather, let's tease that news.
Okay. I have 3 exciting items for us today. The first one is something we all know and love, and that is expensive toys.
Ah, yes.
And the second one is the one I've been most terrified to communicate with you all, because I am totally going to butcher this, and I apologize to every Star Wars fan out there. And that is... That's all I got, people.
All right.
Basically,
could be anything.
It's a Wookiee roar. And then lastly, shot in the arm.
Ow.
Again, I have no idea what these things mean, but we'll find out later.
But first, we have some echoes of the Force.
Yes, we do. So this week comes from Jeremy, and he asks the following question. Being that new content will be from High Republic, is there a possibility that we will get Yoda in any of these new stories?
Ooh.
Good question.
That is a
being
good question.
that he's like, what, 800?
Yeah, he's like
not
by the
young.
time
900 by the time he dies.
Yeah, so he's pretty old. I would definitely think so. I mean, maybe if he's not like at the forefront, like definitely mentioned in passing with the characters that they end up writing about and developing.
Yeah. I just hope we don't get like adolescent Yoda. He's like a moody teenager. Like
Pubescent.
yeah, can we skip that stage, please? A young adult Yoda might be cool. We'll see who his teacher it was. So, yeah, that'd be interesting.
That would be cool.
I think it would be interesting too if they do. I mean, again, not the main kind of character like you were saying, Carla, but with what we've seen from what we are calling Baby Yoda, even though we know he's not Yoda, and what kind of powers he already possesses, like a middle-aged Yoda powers would be versus like this master Jedi that we know and love, like where that growth is.
Yeah, interesting.
I don't know.
I feel like this whole High Republic, like, it's just a very interesting way to go. I don't know. Like, I wasn't expecting that to be that whole big announcement. But I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, it is kind of a new era because for those in the know, we know of the Old Republic, which is like 2,000 years before the Battle of Yavin. But this High Republic, where it's only like 300 or so years before.
Yeah, I think it's like 200 before episode 1.
Yeah, like
if
the possibilities are endless. We have no idea. So yeah, good way to generate interest, Project Luminous. But we'll just have to wait and see. But there's no way they're not going to use Yoda, because I mean everybody else isn't that we know about in the Star Wars lore is just not going to be born yet. So they need like one anchor to just like tie everybody down, and it's got to be Yoda.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking anyway. That's just a theory.
Well, thanks for the question, Jeremy.
Yes, thank you so much.
Yeah. All right. Should we move on to the trash, guys?
Let's take it out.
We can only go up, right?
All right. So for Twitter trash compactor. Apparently
Nailed it.
Can't. So the poll on Twitter was, who is your favorite clone out of the Bad Batch? # Star Wars, # Wednesday Wisdom. And your 4 choices were Hunter, Wrecker, Crosshair, or tech? Now, I didn't watch. I'm still trying to catch up from where I left off.
And you want to be on this podcast.
Shame.
Oh, good. Okay. Just put the cone of shame on and we'll be good.
That's right.
So, yeah, I have no idea who any of these people are.
Okay. All right.
But let's see. Do you guys want to do your pick first, and then we'll go through the numbers, the stats?
Yeah. I think Wrecker's probably the most likable out of the Bad Batch, but really it's kind of Hunter that is kind of the glue that keeps them all together. He's a bit underappreciated, I think, so he's going to get my vote.
Excellent. So I did watch it, episode 1, to not be completely intelligent or unintelligent for the last podcast. But like you, Carla, I'm still catching up. So when I watched it, I really liked tech.
All right.
So that's who I voted for.
All righty.
Is
it because he fixes droids?
I didn't say it out loud.
We're just speculating.
Just speculating.
It's just rumors. But yeah, Carla, what did Twitter have to say?
So it looks like Wrecker was the popular choice here with 32%.
All right.
And coming in close behind him was Hunter, 26%. And then not too far behind him was Tech with 23%. And Crosshair came in last with 19%. Man,
no love. Although this is one of the most evenly split polls we've put out there.
Yeah.
I was going to say 19% isn't bad for last place.
Yeah. Normally it's like one option that just runs way out ahead of everybody else. But I don't know if this just means that really the characters are not as different as we would hope, or really it's just that spread out. I don't know.
Yeah. Preference.
The world may never know. All right. So thank you, everybody who participated in that poll. And yeah, we just had the one poll for the week. I think Todd was busy putting his costume together.
Yep.
Todd slacking on the polls. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, he was prepping for C2E2, and I think that brings us to our main topic. Okay, so C2E2. It is our Super Bowl. It is where all the nerds come gathering around, and it's in our backyard in Chicago. And so for the past, I think, 4 years, Heather, we've all gone, or at least for me.
I've only done 3. I missed a year myself, but I think you guys have gone 4.
Yeah, and I think Todd's been going longer than I have. But it just as a podcast, we've kind of been going for about 3-4 years now. So it is a tradition. And last weekend, we were there in the thick of it. So Heather, if you had to give a brief summary of what C2E2 is all about, what would you say?
Chicago traffic.
Yes.
Waiting in lines. Sore feet. And an absolute blast.
Oh, yes. It's all worth it.
It's all worth it in the end. I mean, much like any, Comic-Con convention thing, you've got your vendors with really cool merch. There's a whole artist alley section of just artist upon artist and either straight comic book work, and then other artists with their spin on nerdy things. And then, autograph sessions and photo ops for those, willing to pay, whatever price points there were. And then, of course, just nerdy people getting dressed up. And then finding that extended family you didn't know you had that also loves the same storyline or character, and you'd see a lot of people dressed up as Captain America and then meet up with, an Iron Man down the way and they'd get a photo together, and you'd see a lot of anime characters coming together, and we're just nerds, and just a great time.
Absolutely.
Just a great time.
I had major FOMO, guys. I'm not gonna lie. I saw your pictures. Carla. I was like, oh
man. Yeah. But I'm sure you've had similar experiences at cons before, yeah?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I did New York Comic Con from 2014 to 2017. Yeah, 17.
Okay.
But then I just stopped because it was getting way too expensive and way too overcrowded.
Yeah.
So I was like, no, not really.
That's the second biggest, right? After LA Comic Con?
I think so. I want to say probably. Yeah, big. I mean, they jam-pack that convention center. It's like there is no wiggle room when you're going through. But it's always been, a fun experience. And then more recently, Mike and I have been going to Rhode Island Comic Con for the past 3 years. So we take the drive up there, and we love it. We have so much fun. Like you said, Heather, it's really just like coming home in a way to like your other family, and everyone can be themselves and express themselves through costume, and we just have a blast. We love it. Mm-hmm. And now we'll be finding a new one out in Colorado.
All right.
So
I said LA Comic Con. It's San Diego Comic Con.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And it's all California. It just blends together to me, honestly. But yeah, C2E2 has always been a huge event for me to look forward to since I started going, just because it's almost like going to Walt Disney World, where there's a ton of people there, but they've all kind of had the same experience or similar experiences to you, and it's a feature that unites you all. Maybe in just a small or superficial way, but it's still genuine, and there's nothing quite like that to have as, I guess, a social mixer, if you want to put it that way. But just to, you can immediately bond with someone. Like, you see somebody with a sweet costume that you recognize, and you just approach them and take a picture with them and, compliment them or whatever. And you don't get that in everyday life. And so in a lot of ways, it's a trip away from the ordinary. I think last year I kind of went on a mini rant about how, in a lot of ways, it's almost like a secular religious experience. Mm-hmm. And you can tune into our episode from last year to hear that. But I think it's true in that it touches on a deeper sense of meaning than I think we normally get in everyday day-to-day life, even if we can't fully explain it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, for me, it's just it's celebrating all the cool things that you like in private, but looking up and seeing that, there's thousands upon thousands of people who like this too, and you're not for a few days you're not alone in that, and that's really powerful. So, yeah, that's C2E2. Let's listen to Heather and Todd. They met up on Friday, and they wanted to give like a day one preview of what was happening. So let's go ahead and take a listen. All right. So Heather, you had a lot to say about that day going in.
We were such dorks on the drive-in. We had all this weird energy. There was a lot of traffic in our way. But we were just really excited. And I think it's kind of like you said, Aaron, it's our backyard, it's our home, it's a place to go experience the goofy stuff. We were both going to troop that day, and so it's always just fun to troop with people and that kind of thing. So yeah, we were just really weird. At least I felt like we were weird. And I hadn't even finished my coffee yet. I don't even know. So,
Oh, man.
but yeah, day one was super duper fun. It was so cool. So you buy your passes, right? But then we got to like sneak in as the exhibitor pass with the exhibitor pass for the 501st booth.
Oh, through the Legion? Isn't that so much fun?
You're like, sorry
I'm
guys,
a vendor.
I'm just coming in. Yeah. Then you give your badge back for someone else to find that same joy, but whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just walked to the floor a little bit and saw the cool stuff and then got suited up and walked around, got some photos, and I don't even know. I have so much to say. I don't know if I should share it all or what you want. There's just a lot.
I mean, that day, was there anything that really stood out to you as like the top one or two moments that you had?
Yeah, so there was probably my funny favorite moment was while I was Jawaing, because one of the cool things about C2E2 that I noticed, well, Friday was the slower day too, so there was a lot more, elbow room. But just seeing the different types of people that attended. And so as we were walking through, I tend to just do my little Jawa shuffle and, interact with people as they walk by. But I wait for them to get kind of close to me, and then I hit my sound glove and make a noise, which then, spooks people. Well, there was this one dude, and I don't know who you are, man, but I hit my sound glove, and he jumped like a foot. And
that's awesome.
I basically then started laughing, so like I pointed at him and was laughing like, dude, I got you. And then so we got our photo together, which was a lot of fun. But that was definitely probably one of my favorite parts, was getting some of these like 24, 25-year-old like guys who were with their buddies, and they're like, yeah, man, we're like cool, we're at a thing, and they would like freak out. They'd be like, oh, cool Jawa. And so then I would say thank you by hitting my sound glove, and they'd be like, dude, it talks.
Heather, I love that you don't break character.
No. Well, that's a lie. I broke character once. And here's the reason why. So for those of you who don't understand McCormick Place, it's just basically a giant convention center. But there's this like middle section where all the sun skylight happens. And so it's just a big gathering spot. So we were out there for a little while. And then this little girl and her parents, they come walking into the convention. And I kid you not, she was a strawberry shortcake Mandalorian.
Oh my gosh.
I kind of freaked out.
Stop it.
So we got our photo with her and everything. I basically like shuffled my way up to the mom, and I was like, did you make that? It's amazing. I started just talking normally because I was like, you're amazing. I support this parenting.
Wow.
It was really cool. So that was probably the second one, was some killer kid cosplay.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
No, I know what you're saying with like the reactions from like the older like people. It's like you don't expect it, and then they're just like, "Yo, dude, like look at that!" Like, so,
dude, I gotta get my phone out, man. You get a photo? I don't know.
You give them childlike wonder for a moment.
I do. It's pretty great.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So.
Awesome. Yeah, I was not there for day one, so I have nothing to add. But
sad.
Yeah, let's see if Heather and Todd had the same energy at the end of the day. Well, Heather, did you?
Well, we kind of did. At least I did. I think because what happens is you start sharing these stories, and so then you start like reliving all that same energy again. You're like, oh yeah, and then this happened, and then oh yeah, that happened. Oh crap, it's still traffic. Oh man,
Yeah.
We're just weird.
It's like you're just coming back to normal life, and it sucks.
But lots of fun. Yeah. it was just a good day one to kind of like get your, like, wet your whistle to be like, all right, let's do this again tomorrow.
Right on.
That's all right.
Yeah, and then day 2. So let's talk about that, shall we? Because that's when things started to go wrong.
Why? Why did it go wrong?
Well, JD and I had passes, and morning of, I'm suiting up, and I get a text from JD, and he's like, "So about C2E2, I'm sick." So he had a bad flu, not the Wu flu, but yeah, he was just. It would have been miserable if he went, and so unfortunately couldn't bring him along with. I tried to get my girlfriend to come along with in his place, but by the time like I was already leaving and on the way, that's when she like saw my text, and so it was just a little too late. But
Bummer.
So I ended up going by myself and tried to meet up with you guys, and you weren't there. Chicago traffic struck again.
I won't speak for Todd, but so I went with my friend Deb on Saturday, and I don't know what happened, but I sat on the off-ramp for Lakeshore Drive for like 25 minutes.
Oh my goodness, just not moving.
We weren't moving. And then, it's like a 2-lane exit, but the left lane didn't realize they needed to be in the right lane to get to the light to turn to the right parking garage. And it was chaos.
Misery. Wow.
So I would have been there, Aaron, but other people wanted to be there too.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, I got pretty lucky. I had an Uber ride pick me up, and the dude was super cool. I ended up following him on Instagram. His name is Dorian Myrickes, DCLMYRICKES on the Instagram. He's a writer, and he had lost his job a couple months back. More than a couple, like 6 months or so. It was crazy. He was a security guard, and he got shot 3 times while on duty. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So he went to the hospital, lost his job, and he was basically just like slowly clawing his way back. Started his own media company, and now they're like working on publishing a comic, and he hopes to have a booth there next year. So
wow.
Yeah, Dorian Myrickes, great Uber driver, great conversationalist, and great story to tell. So yeah, so we got there. I went as Captain Picard from Star Trek. And that was my first time going as that character, so he was a lot of fun. I just wasn't in the right headspace to like be in character, so I just was kind of there, but it was still a lot of fun. Had like 5 people want to take a photo with me, so that was pretty cool. Yeah, I was expecting to see more like Star Trek there because of the Picard series, but then again, the CBS Picard series sucks, so. Maybe I set my expectations too high.
Hasn't been doing too well, I've heard.
No.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got there, was waiting around the Star Wars area before I knew you were running late. Ended up going to a small event. I didn't have time to really walk the showroom floor as much as I wanted, so that was a little bit of a disappointment. But I ended up meeting up. There's like this Dungeons and Dragons Adventures League playthrough event, so went there, sat down at a table with 6 other complete strangers to play this game, and it was a ton of fun. I couldn't imagine doing this a few years ago, by the way. I'd be way too anxious, but yeah, we had 3 of the players knew each other. They were all bard characters, and they were in like a traveling band, and which was hilarious. And then everybody else was just kind of thrown in there. I played like this old fighter type character. There was one guy who he picked a really obscure race to play as. He was basically like a poison dart frog who like couldn't speak common or English, and he had a special ability where I think a certain number of times a day, somebody could like rub their weapon on his skin and it would become poisoned. It was super cool. But yeah, we had a great time, and then we met up me, Todd, and Heather for a little rendezvous at the end. But Heather, what did you do between arriving and our rendezvous?
Yeah, so we got through security, and so kind of walked in, started doing kind of a basic walk through the floor, and before we knew it, we were, being asked for our photos because we went as a female Iron Man and Lady Loki.
There you go.
Deb was in her
So
ball
cool.
gown with her arc reactor and her mask for the helmet, and I had my gold horns and my tesseract and everything. So we had a great time just kind of walking around and checking out all the things. And let's see. We didn't get to our panels the way we wanted to because traffic kind of backed up all of our time frames. So we missed some of it, which was sad, but that's okay. And then our other friends from work, Matt and Heather, happened to be there. So we ended up getting to meet up with them for a little while, which was Matt's first time ever at C2E2, kind of basically his first time ever at like a Comic-Con. So he's like,
fun.
This is crazy. There are so many people. So we kind of had to get him introduced into how it works and that kind of a thing. So that was tons of fun. And just basically did a lot of walking around. Deb wanted to kind of see everything and checking out all the other people in their cosplays. Stopped by the 501st booth to see if there were any mouse droids. That sort of a thing. And then we ended up meeting up together and then getting our pictures at the C2E2 sign, which is kind of our staple thing to do. And then, we kind of met up and did a little quick day 2 recording.
And here it is right now. Yeah, so that's a little debrief of our day 2 experience. And then I had to leave early. I couldn't make it Sunday, but Heather and Todd were there, right?
True story.
All right, cool.
Todd was able. So Todd actually trooped Friday, Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
And then he did civilian on Sunday because he brought his family. So, and it was really sweet. All of them, Jen and Trent and Ellie and Dad, were all wearing their Big T, Little T podcast t-shirts.
Aww.
The little podcast that they do with Trent. So that was really sweet. Little united family there, which was a lot of fun. And then I went back and I trooped on Sunday. And probably the coolest part of Sunday trooping was the Navy was at C2E2. Mm-hmm. And so the U.S. Navy had a booth. And the cool thing about their booth is you could play Battleship with a Navy officer. If that is not clever, I don't know what is.
Why wasn't I told this? This is
Oh,
awesome.
Aaron, oh no. But it was funny because Deb came back with me again, and so she kind of was my handler because, Carla, you understand once you're in the Jawa, you have no peripheral.
Oh, yeah.
It's the hood's so, far away from your face that you really only can see in front of you.
Yeah.
And so, you're doing your thing and you're getting your photo and whatever. She grabs me by the shoulders. She's like, we've got to go over to the Navy booth. And I'm like, okay. Mm-hmm. And because apparently there was like 4 or 5 Navy guys in the booth, but 2 of them had like walked further away from their booth because they saw me being mischievous. And so I caught their eye, I guess. So I went over there and again, these really professional Navy men whipping out their phones to take a picture with me. I put one of their sailor hats on.
Oh my goodness.
They weren't convinced that I would do well in the Navy as a Jawa because there's a lot of water and not a lot of sand.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. So that was a huge highlight. And I think it's because, you know, you've got these men who are serving our country and they just have that moment where they get to be kind of goofy and everything. So that was tons of fun. Yeah. I mean, I've got, I'll try to get the images and videos passed on to the social medias, but there's a couple fun photos of me just walking through C2E2 and some things like that. I had a dance party with R2.
There you go.
That was pretty great.
Nice.
Yeah. And so I suited down and Deb and I kind of walked the floor again, and I bought some artwork of Chewbacca driving a motorcycle, and in the sidecar is Yoda.
Oh,
it's pretty great.
That's awesome.
So, but definitely by day 3, you're tired. It's been a long weekend.
Yeah.
It's a lot of people.
A lot of walking.
It's a lot of walking. And then when you're an introvert on top of it, you're just, this is too many people.
Yeah.
But
It is overwhelming, especially like Heather, like you said, like when you're in costume and, you know, your face is hidden or like your vision is, you know, somewhat blocked. And it can be a lot. And, you know, I mean, most people don't realize that. So, you know, it can get overwhelming when somebody like runs up behind you or runs from the side.
Yes.
And all of a sudden they're in your face, like, can I take a picture? And you're like, whoa. Okay.
Yeah. Well, especially if you have a little kid that comes up to you. And I know Todd talks about this a lot too in the TK helmet.
Trampling children.
Because you can't see down.
Yeah.
So you do. So it's always, you know, you're like, there's a little person and you're like, oh, okay, where? And
I actually have that problem whenever I troop with a Vader and I'm in Leia or whatever, I always have to make sure that our Vader can see me. Cause if not, like I've had like a couple of our Vaders almost like just like trample over me. Like, and they're like, I swear I didn't see you. And I'm like, no, it's okay.
I'm short. I understand.
Yeah.
But no, it was a lot of fun. I heard that Adam Savage, who many know from Mythbusters, went out on the floor dressed as Captain America with the helmet. And it was this big contest to try to find him on the floor. Yeah, so just a lot of really cool things take place at these kind of events. So I'm glad, Aaron, you got to go. We did miss you, Carla. We'll bring a cardboard cutout next time or something.
Just put my head on like a stick.
I'll just carry you around. So, but that was my day 3.
Awesome. And Todd recorded a little reflection on the day for us. So let's take a listen now. Well, thank you so much for that, Todd. There is a bit of news, a bit of grist for the rumor mill that came out of C2E2. So Del Rey, publishers for many Star Wars books, they had a booth at C2E2, and they had advanced copies for the Rise of Skywalker novelization. And for those who don't know, whenever a Star Wars movie comes out, the novelization usually comes after, and they take liberties to kind of fill in a lot of gaps in the story, in the plot, things behind the scenes, between scenes, things like that. And this novelization is no different. And people have already kind of read through it with a fine-tooth comb and pulled out some juicy bugs of information. So I'm mixing metaphors so hard. So all that to say, according to this article from Collider, the Rise of Skywalker novel confirms that Palpatine, in the film was a clone. So, everybody's asking, how in the world did Palpatine survive after being thrown down a huge chimney and blown up? How could he have possibly made it? So there's a theory going around before the movie came out that Palpatine did in fact die at the end of Return of the Jedi. But before confronting Luke and Vader, he had an ace in the hole, a card up his sleeve, a clone in a Bacta tank. So in case you forgot, clones are a pretty big deal in Star Wars, and presumably that's what they were trying to say with the opening scenes of Rise of Skywalker. There's a bunch of vials and tanks and goo, and Kylo Ren walks past all these like weird kind of half-baked creatures, and it's supposed to hint that the Emperor's new body is in fact a clone, and there were many mistakes made along the way, but they finally got him. And so it also suggests that Snoke was a clone. We see a couple copies of him in a tube. So it's been officially confirmed in the Rise of Skywalker novelization by Ray Carson. It doesn't go on sale till the 17th, but if you're at C2E2, you had a chance to already get it. So here's a little excerpt from this tome. All the vials were empty of liquid save one, which was nearly depleted. Kylo peered closer. He'd seen this apparatus before, too, when he'd studied the Clone Wars as a boy. The liquid flowing into the living nightmare before him was fighting a losing battle to sustain the Emperor's putrid flesh. "What could you give me?" Kylo asked. Emperor Palpatine lived, after a fashion, and Kylo could feel in his very bones that this clone body sheltered the Emperor's actual spirit. It was an imperfect vessel, though, unable to contain his immense power. It couldn't last much longer. So, I guess that also hints that Palpatine's ultimate plan was to suck the life forces out of both Rey and Kylo and live forever. Mm-hmm. We don't really know for sure, but we do have confirmation that Palpatine's a clone. It was his.
Okay.
Palpatine knew the whole time. It was his whole plan. So, there you have it. So the question for the host today, should this have been explained in the movie? Should we have known?
I just feel like they should have just brought the whole Plagueis story back into it. Like, it just wouldn't make sense, especially now. Like, if they're saying that he is a clone, I mean, if anyone's read the Plagueis novel, it was him, and then his master was Darth Tenebris or Tenebris. Yeah, maybe. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It was been a while since I read it. But they basically did like all of these experiments with, like corpses and clones and weird stuff. Like I saw, like we saw in the beginning of The Rise of Skywalker. So I was kind of hoping that maybe they would tie it in some way. So yeah, I mean, I think they should have at least mentioned something instead of it just being implied through the visuals and the imagery. But then I don't know.
Right.
Sometimes you don't need it to be explicitly told and that whole thing, because then you get it in the books. I don't know.
What are you thinking, Heather?
Yeah, I'm thinking a lot of things. I mean, is there a deleted scene about this that we just didn't get for theatrical release? Which we won't know until, that actually happens. Was this one of those things that, with what we've talked about in the past, that there was other things that needed to be corrected, that this was like we'll just push past this and hope that fans are going to be okay. Seeing this in, the article and reading that excerpt that you just read, Aaron, and then re-putting that picture in my brain of the actual film where he's still kind of hooked up to apparatuses, I'm like, okay, well, that kind of makes sense then, that he still needs these other things to kind of keep him alive or whatever, to make then, getting the life force from Rey and Kylo to make sense. But Should it have been explained? Would it have been nice? Yeah. But I guess that's kind of true with any of the films, is that you get more when you read the books. Or when you know the kind of extended universe or what have you. It's kind of like a Harry Potter series where there's house ghosts that aren't in the films at all, but are in the books. That's a kind of a big thing.
Right.
I know there's stuff within Lord of the Rings specifically, and even in like the Hobbit movies that get kind of bypassed or...
There's a lot that they cut out of
right,
those books.
Yeah. So, yeah,
All right.
I don't know if that's an answer, but it's what I've got.
Yeah. No, it's good. I've always kind of been in the camp that you don't need everything explained. And as a movie maker, you can kind of trust your audience to put some of the pieces together. And if you explain too much, then there's just no mystery to it, and it's not interesting at all.
Sure.
In this case, however, all we get is the dead speak, and somehow a radio transmission goes out across the galaxy that we never hear, and so there's a lot of missing pieces here. And my thoughts before knowing this was that maybe they went to the bottom of the wreckage of the Death Star and found like a fingernail or something, and then were able to just like very slowly over many years try to clone him from that or grow him out of that or something like that. And it's kind of a flimsy theory, but it's enough because you know that outside the movie they're just trying to finish the sequel. They needed to make it interesting, so they brought Palpatine back, and it matters a lot less how he got there rather than he's back, and we need to deal with him. So, does this change anything for you, knowing that he is a clone and not the OG?
No. At least not for me. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not like okay with it, but I'm also like whatever, meh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is acknowledging that cloning humans, which is a pretty big deal, it does kind of have this continuity and carryover from the prequels throughout the Star Wars saga. Outside of that, it doesn't really change much of the story for me.
Yeah.
Because they're gonna get Palpatine alive one way or another. So cool. It's confirmed for clone. That's what we have.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, if you do feel that it does change a lot for you, let us know. Mailbox at WSTRmedia.com. And yeah, if you were there at C2E2, you could have been in on the know before anybody else. Yet one more reason to go. All right, so that's enough about C2E2. Heather, let's get into the news of the week.
Great, because I've been sitting here all this time wondering what I talked about. I'm just kidding.
What do we got first?
Yeah, so Forbes.com has an article about a rare Star Wars toy that's expected to sell for, are you sitting down, $80,000 at auction.
Ooh, that's a lot.
So I'm sure at this point you're wondering, what could that be? One of the holy grails for collectors is the rocket-firing Boba Fett. This toy, I guess it's worth over $80,000 and will be just one of the many in a lot for the Prop Stores Toys Comic Art and Collectibles Live Auction. Whew, that was a lot. It's kicking off Wednesday, March 4th, and this particular collectible has a starting bid of $30,000, but absentee bids have already hit. These are people who aren't there yet. They have already put in bids of 62,500 before. I mean, that's insane.
My gosh.
It's insane. So the rocket firing Boba Fett is an unpainted and made of blue plastic. It's a prototype that is utilizing an L slot design named after the shape of the backpack mechanism to allow the rocket to fire. It never went into production, but it was used by the toy maker Kenner to promote the second film, The Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, it's looking like
Go ahead, Aaron.
yeah, it's looking like a so what's important about this toy and why it's so rare is because concerns about the rocket actually like injuring kids. Especially after tragically one child died after playing with like a similar rocket launching toy. They really wanted to. Kenner basically made the call to never produce this thing. So this is the rarest of the rare, and there's really only like a few of these prototypes to exist. This toy never went into production. There's not, like a box of them in the back of a warehouse somewhere. It's just not even produced. They just had like, oh, this is how it could be. So that's why it's so rare and why it's so valuable.
So would you pay that much money, friends?
Definitely not.
Yeah.
Well, by the time this podcast episode goes live, Wednesday, March 4th, that's the day of the auction. So hurry on over there and place your bet.
Oh, my goodness. But yeah. All right. Well, you know what? I'm sure to the right person who can afford it, it'll be a great collectible item. All right. But in totally different news, page6.com shares with us some exciting news. Star Wars actor Jonas Suotamo, I don't know. Basically, Chewie, our new Chewie, both in Solo and our sequels, has named his daughter after Chewbacca.
All right.
And everybody goes, what? So Jonas and his wife, Mila, they welcomed a baby girl into their family, and they chose to name their newborn after his character in the latest franchise. Jonas announces, we have some exciting news. We're pleased to welcome the newest member of our family, our little princess, our senator or general or whatever she wants to be, was born this week and is doing great. Welcome to the world, Princess Baka.
Oh, that's sweet.
Interesting. Aww.
I mean, she's absolutely adorable in the photo from his tweet through his Twitter account. But yeah, so she's asleep in her little pink onesie. They already have a little boy named Atos. Hopefully I did not butcher that. I hope you'll forgive me if I did. But now they've got two little people in their home. But yeah, what do we think? I mean, it's kind of cute.
At first I was like, how could you name your daughter after Chewbacca? But then when I read it and I kept saying it over and over, I'm like, yeah, that works. I like it. It's adorable.
Okay. Aaron, you seem a little more about it.
It's not something I would personally do. Let's put it that way. But it is cool to see other people doing it, and it means quite a lot to them. So, I'm happy for them.
Yeah. So I think it's cute. I think for them it makes complete sense. And we congratulate you and wish you well to that family.
All right.
What else do we have? It looks like, what do we have here? IGN.com is our next place for news. And it is saying, headline, Star Wars. Why the High Republic is just what this franchise needs.
Ooh.
Dun dun dun.
That's a bold statement.
It's a bold statement. We do not shy away at the news here on WSTR Media. All right. After months of teasing, Lucasfilm has finally revealed the secret of the mysterious Project Luminous. It's an ambitious publishing initiative called Star Wars: The High Republic. Over the course of several years and a number of new novels and comic books, Lucasfilm will now shed light on an era set 200 years before the events of The Phantom Menace. It's a new development for the franchise, and even more importantly, this announcement is just what Lucasfilm needs to reinvigorate the Star Wars publishing line. Whether you thought they needed to or not, that's what they're saying. So, it's a pretty lengthy article. I'm not going to read it all to you. But as you know, we've kind of dabbled a little bit in our last episode. Basically, the news was hitting while we were recording, which was pretty great. But we've got some new novels. We've got some new comics. I think there's a video game in the works. Don't quote me on that.
There's a kid's book.
There's a kid's book. But we are looking at, from at least in Heather's world, brand new characters that we've not seen before. Clearly, we've just chatted about whether or not Yoda's going to show up again. But how are you guys feeling about the current publishing that has done and now this new Project Luminous and where the High Republic fits in? Carly, you're a big reader.
Yeah.
In the Star Wars universe. How are you excited?
Yeah, I mean, I've never been like one that's like really like vested in the Jedi, you know what I mean? I mean, I think they're cool and everything. I'm more interested in like, you know, like characters specifically. Like I loved the Leia book, Princess of Alderaan, that one. I love the Bloodline book. So I like more, I like reading more of like the micro stories, if that's what you want to call it. Like, you know, in between like, oh, like what happened between, you know, episode 7 and 8. Or I love the book that came before Rogue One, Catalyst. That's a really good one. But I think there's been like, you know, some misses with some of the books, but overall, I'm pretty satisfied. I mean, and I've also read the Legends, some of the Legends books. I would like to read more. I'm currently working on reading the Old Republic series. So I enjoy those. So I can get why, you know, people were mad when they kind of wiped the slate clean with that. But I'm interested to see how this goes. You know, I do the audiobooks as well as like the physical books. So some of them, if I'm like not, I think I might not be like as like interested in it, I'll do the audiobook. But if I'm like, okay, like this looks cool, like the Thrawn books, I actually will read the physical books of those if, you know, if I'm like really interested in the story and the characters. But yeah, I'm excited. I mean, hey, I hope it is successful. I hope it takes off. Maybe it'll bring forth, you know, another set of movies or a TV show. Who knows? You know, I think as long as they're giving us good content, you know, people will be happy.
Yeah. Because the article does state, you know, rather than anchoring a story to one of the Star Wars movies or bridging a gap between one story and the next, Lucasfilm wanted to carve out fresh territory for writers and artists to explore. You know, Aaron, you've not been shy about the let's move on from the Skywalker saga.
Yeah.
Is this exciting for you to get new territory, do you think?
Oh, absolutely. I think it's just become more clear as the Star Wars saga has moved on that there's just way too many sacred cows that they can't kill. And so JD and I have both gone on the record that we're very much fans of the Old Republic era. And so with this High Republic era, it's just something that's totally new, and I think that's what Star Wars needs. And I hope they commit to it. I hope they don't just, put all of these publications in a corner and they don't really have any kind of impact on the rest of Star Wars. But you have the freedom with this new kind of era to introduce new characters, kill off major characters, and to have the freedom to do that without worrying that you're going to mess up some other kind of story or have these kinds of greater repercussions that I think restricted a lot of the creative freedom that the sequel trilogy could have had. So as long as Disney doesn't go meddling up to their old tricks, then I think we'll be okay. Yeah.
Oh man. Oh, that's great. Well, I guess we'll all just have to wait and see how it all turns out, right?
I also think I just want to add one more thing. I think it's interesting too because so they're going back 200 years, and like we were saying before, the Old Republic is what, like 2,000 years before. So in my mind, I'm thinking, is that still leaving the possibility open for them to still go back and revisit that time? You know what I mean? I hope so too. I would like some live action Old Republic though.
Yes, please.
I think that's what everybody wants.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
I'll take some of that.
We'll get that petition started on the socials. Oh, man. All right. Well, that's all that we have for our news segment, but I think that means it's the perfect time for Cantina Chat. Yay. All right.
Hey. I gotta do it. You gotta do it.
Cantina Chat.
Aaron, what's been up with you other than your day at C2E2?
Yeah, that's probably the most nerdiest I've been in like a long time. Boring adult stuff like budgeting and saving money. And I'll actually be in a really good place by the end of this month, so I'm really happy about that. If you want to count personal finances nerdy, then by Jove, I'm nerdy. Yeah, a lot of it's just kind of doing my own thing. I've been trying to get this guitar fixed for over a week now. It's been broken longer than that, but I had an acoustic guitar. The Chicago winter was not very kind to it, and so the bridge, which is basically what anchors the strings to the body of the guitar, got like a big crack through all the pegs. So pretty nasty damage. Brought it in to get fixed at Guitar Center, and the techs were like, yeah, this is like a really expensive fix, so you might want to go through the warranty process. So I did, and it was days of back and forth and not getting emails, and your email address is spelled wrong, let's fix it. And then it still doesn't go through, and I talked to a different person. Your email address is spelled wrong, let's fix it. And it's just a bureaucratic nightmare. But I finally shipped it to them. As soon as they get it, they'll be sending me a gift card, and I can go shopping for a new guitar.
Hey.
Nice.
So, unpleasant, but it is what it is. And what other nerdy thing have I been doing? Your boy's going to be teaching some audio this summer.
Ooh.
So, yeah.
Nice.
Last summer for a community college in the area, I taught a small summer camp style course for grades 9 through 12. Turns out everybody who signed up was a freshman in high school, but it's just like a 3-day kind of crash course on sound design and sound editing, and it was a hoot. I had a great time. I learned a lot from it, and it's something that I want to do in the future for career goals. So any kind of experience I can get is like essential. So
Absolutely.
It's awesome.
Yeah, what we ended up doing for that class was a few years ago, I think it was Warner Brothers kind of decided like, hey, all those old movie monsters, like Dracula and Frankenstein and the Mummy, let's reboot those. Those are what the kids will be into these days. And so one of the first ones that they did was a reboot of The Mummy with Tom Cruise, and they put out a trailer on YouTube, and they put out the wrong copy with a bunch of the audio tracks muted, and there's pretty much no sound. Some music, a few sound effects here and there, but it was just plain and bare and empty and embarrassing. And they pulled it within minutes, but the internet as it is, they snagged it. And so I gave that as a project to my students to say, let's fix this guy's mistake and put in all the sound effects and music and whatever you want for it. And so they really impressed me with what they were able to do. So that was last year. Same college wants me to teach again. So I'll be teaching 3 of those classes to different age groups, grades 4 and 5, grades 6 through 8, and grades 9 through 12, about recording and podcasting and voice acting. It'll be a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to it.
That's quite a range.
Yeah.
Do you think I could pass for a 12th grader?
Just claim one of the kids as your own and sit in.
That's right. Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I've been up to.
Awesome.
Carla, how are you? Are you still in your fire? It's fine.
You've been busy.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. It's life's been hectic, but I'm just taking it one day at a time right now. Nerdy stuff. So was this 2 weeks ago now? Valentine's Day? Yeah. 3 weeks ago now. Oh my gosh. So Mike surprised me with a Valentine's / birthday present. Totally was not expecting this, but he's having this woman, Christine Evans. She's part of the New York Rebel Legion base. He's having her commission me a full Endor Leia costume for Rebel Legion. Yeah. I cried a little bit. I was like, what?
That's a slow clap for Mike right there. I love it.
So that was really sweet, really thoughtful of him. So that, basically made like my whole month. And then I'm doing some upgrading to my Jinn costume. I'm adding the jacket and the scarf to make it the Jedha version, so to speak.
Excellent.
Which is nice because I don't have to like resubmit the whole costume.
Oh, good.
I can just add the pieces, send it to my judge who approved me for the first one, and then they're like, yay or nay. So, yeah. So I'm excited for that, and not too much else going on. I'm just missing Mike. He's across the country. But I did have a little special moment over the weekend. So we had a little bit of like a dinner get together for one of our members here. It was his birthday last week, and we all just kind of got together for him, and he needed like some cheering up. He's been having a little bit of a tough time, so we were like, hey, let's all get together and hang out, and just make him feel better, and surround him with the people that love him and care about him. So it was pretty cool, and he was totally surprised. He had no clue. So we all pitched in some money, and one of our friends, they go to Disney pretty frequently. They're like the annual pass holders. Mm-hmm. And he somehow asked our friend whose birthday it was, he got him to tell him like, oh, if you had to pick like your favorite Force user out of the entire Star Wars universe, who would it be? And he was like, oh, I really love Ahsoka. So we arranged to buy him the 2 Ahsoka lightsabers from Galaxy's Edge and gifted it to him for his birthday.
Whoa.
So it was pretty cool. Like his face, he was just like,
Wow.
yeah. So it was a nice surprise. It's always nice to give back, and give to people who might need a little like pick me up here and there. So yeah, but it was awesome.
I love that.
And I ended up getting a little gift, another little like birthday surprise gift. My two friends got me from Galaxy's Edge the little, I think it's called the binary beacon. So it's the bracelet that Leia and Rey wear in The Last Jedi, so that Rey, can find where the Falcon is and all that, or where they are in Crate. And so they were like, yeah, like, it's your 30th birthday, and you dress up as Leia and you dress up as Rey. They're like, but more importantly, it's a little reminder that you always have something to light your way home when you move out to Colorado. And then I started crying. I was like, guys, stop it. Don't do this to me in the middle of this huge like restaurant right now.
Oh,
Right.
my goodness.
But so thoughtful. And yeah, it's just like little things like that, just makes you realize, like, that you're surrounded by, again, like, it's just one big family, and it's just awesome to be friends with so many amazing people. So yeah, it was a good weekend.
Wow.
So yeah,
Awesome.
yeah.
I like it. All right. Well,
How about you, Heather?
yeah. Well, let me quickly share Todd's stuff. He left a couple little notes here. He says C2E2 kicked tail. It was his 11th year, his first troop of the new year. He got to make some repairs on his armor. So he had such a great time and looking forward to another year. And he got to be Rose field correspondent for Scarif podcast.
Yeah,
So
I ran into him
Nice.
during C2E2 right before the goodness, we didn't even mention this.
I know, right?
There's a 501st like Vader parade. Vader out front, bunch of stormtroopers behind him, and I'm waiting for Todd and Heather, and I look around and I see a familiar face, and it's Ro, and he's got a camera on his shoulder, and it's like, oh, we just had you on last week. So yeah, very cool to see him.
Very nice. Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, my previous week was a lot of last minute costume stuff. My sound glove broke, so I had to go fix that. But got that done. And then, yeah, C2E2 was sort of the big nerdy thing for me. And apparently I'm pretty famous now. I made the Chicago Tribune.
Mm-hmm.
And Todd also just pointed out that I made C2E2's official Twitter as well. So
Nice.
You're too famous for us.
my head's
Yeah.
just going to keep getting bigger and bigger.
You got to pursue
No.
a solo career.
I mean, probably. But I think, clearly very unexpected. I was not I was just standing there and this guy's like, hey, I'm with the Chicago Tribune. Can I take your photo? And you're like, okay. So, but yeah, so I had a shockingly really great time.
Look at you go.
I know. Yeah, it was really sweet. I had posted something on our local garrison kind of Facebook group just about, I've only been part of the Legion since September, but just kind of how crazy good this organization is. And one of the head guys of our local garrison is like, yeah, you really need to send that to like the 501st headquarter people. And so I just kind of shared my story about how after my brother Bruce passed, how I could remain this Star Wars fan and stay in something that brings me joy and, sadness every so often, since that was his thing. And how with every high five and hug and, card handed out and picture taken, I'm just sort of really honoring him in a way. So it's kind of cool to know that this idea of being recognized and being on the C2E2 Twitter or whatever is just me really continuing Bruce's love of Star Wars. So it's been a really good week for me.
Oh, wow.
That's all.
Your tank must be full.
It's full. I'm so excited. Yeah, it's been great. And I only got one blister the whole weekend. So we're going to consider that a win.
That's a win.
That's a fair trade. All right, Heather, let's say we wrap this up, shall we?
I think that we should. All right, so thanks again, everybody, for listening to another episode of WSTR Galactic Public Access. Please check us out on the social media. We are on Facebook, we're on Instagram, and we are on Twitter, and that is WSTR Media. And we always want to hear from you, so feel free to comment. You can tweet us. We are on blah, 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 blah. We are on Apple Podcasts, so you can rate us there. And hey, if you think it's worthy, give us a 5-star rating and we'll throw some swag at you, or we will mail it to you, whichever is better.
We won't actually throw it at you.
I mean, we could chuck it at you. That's fine too. You can also retweet or email us. You should do this. Retweet or email us the screenshot of that rating, and then we'll go ahead and get that up on the next podcast. Don't forget you can email us. That's mailbox@wstrmedia.com, or go ahead and give us a call at 630-557-WSTR, 630-557-9787, and you'll leave us a voicemail and we'll play it on a podcast. Back catalog of episodes is podcast.wstrmedia.com. We also have our merch store, and that's store.wstrmedia.com, thanks to our friends at Teespring. Don't forget to check out our Patreon for Starside Chat and Heather's Holocron, and that is patreon.com/WSTR Media. Next week, we are already at episode 162. And we have the philosophies of the Force with JD.
Ooh.
Right? Professor JD will be talking to us. No. So we talked about subjects we wanted to talk about a little while ago, and so JD's going to kick us off. So tune in next week because he's crazy, and I'm sure it's going to be a great episode. And I say that with all the love I can muster. If we didn't get to see you at C2E2, we're so sorry. Hopefully, though, if you've got a picture with us or a story about anything, you let us know, and we'll get it up on the socials and tag you, or you tag us, and we'll just keep tagging each other. Yeah, I think that's it. We did it. Woo!
We did it.
Oh, wait, I forgot. There's one more thing. Now...
This
is podcasting.
Woo!
All right, time to sit in traffic.